What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Kind of getting a late start to the day. Had a raging migraine most of the morning and afternoon, but it's finally starting to go away. So I'm getting Danielle's lemon tree watered up here, and then we're going to be working on her dashboard some more. Here's our dash, the 93 SE dash. It's going in her car. The last few videos we worked on getting the BB6 Prelude cluster swapped into this dash here. Currently I removed the cluster for a couple reasons. One, just to make sure that I don't accidentally cause any damage to this while I do any further work to the dashboard, and two, I'm also currently working on making a follow-up video for all of you guys with the 1990, 1991, and automatic transmission versions of the cb7, so you guys can also get this cluster wired up into your guys' cars and have it full functioning as it should, since a lot of that info is hard to find. So keep your eyes peeled in the next 2 to 3 weeks tops for me to get that video out to you guys. But as for tonight, we're going to be working on something I had mentioned in the last video, and we're going to be working on getting a 2-inch gauge pod installed here onto our dash to run a couple different aftermarket gauges. One, an oil pressure gauge, so that we can keep an eye on our oil pressure for the H22, which are known for a oil pump failure. And also just a cheap basic air-fuel ratio gauge. That way we can at least have something to monitor what our O2 sensor is telling the ECU and telling us, so we know if we're ever running lean at any point in time. Just an extra little kind of diagnostic tool just to help out with anything that can go wrong with the car, that we can help diagnose it on the fly without second guessing some things. Originally, I was going to try to fabricate my own, kind of gauge pod or something to utilize the clock area here on our SE dash. Because who really needs a clock? They have clocks on the stereo systems that we all put in our cars. So we're going to try to utilize this area, but I am afraid that with me wanting this car to be a legitimate show car, that if I attempt to make my own gauge pod, that it's just not going to turn out the way that I want it. So I went online and searched eBay, for a little while. Stumbled across this one here, which looks like the shape of everything. Might work out really well, for the dashboard and the shape of our dash. It's that cheap, fake carbon fiber look, and it came with absolutely nothing really to be able to attach this to anything. So this is going to be a fun video. I didn't buy it for the looks really, I bought it for its functionality. So let's go see what this looks like kind of sitting here on our dash. Try to use the same area like I was talking about to give us a pocket to work with. And the shape of it actually doesn't look too bad. It's really, we will need to do some work to this thing, because the curvature is kind of off. And here's what it looks like from the front side. So I don't know, maybe we can easily take care of something like this, because this is just made of plastic. So maybe I can just take a heat gun to it, get a little bit warmed up, and be able to possibly reshape the front edge of this to be a little bit flatter than that. With it sitting all the way down in the hole, it's not really too far off. I'll still need to do a little bit of work. However, you can see the big gap on the back side, and that's because this isn't actually sitting where I need it to sit. Really, I need this to be sitting about right here. But now that we took the curvature out of it, it kind of posed a little problem on the placement of our indent for where our clock goes and where these indents are that allow our gauges to sit in here from sitting down flush with the front side of our dash. And I really don't want to. I'm going to have no choice but to have to kind of shave out some of this area here and here to be able to get this thing to drop all the way down, and then figure out how to mount it together. I took a dry erase marker and I marked out exactly where I need the gauge pod to be sitting, and roughly those areas that are going to need to be shaved if I continue on doing what I just stated. I'm really not wanting to do that though. I may have gone about this wrong already. So I'm going to get this thing taped up onto the dash to get it kind of sitting in place. And maybe see if there's a way I can like kind of reshape. I hope to just reshape, you know, the front of that. Alright, I took the heat gun and I kind of reshaped it again, you know, on the bench by hand to, you know, kind of give it the curve again. And it's a heck of a lot closer. In fact, if I just put a little bit of pressure down on it, you can see I don't really have much space left to take out of it. But I've got it sitting here holding in place with some tape. So now I can just take the heat gun to it and give it a little bit more heat and just kind of get it to shape to the dash a little bit better before we work on how we're going to mount this thing to the dash. And I'm really happy with that fitment there on the front. And yes, there is a gap there on the back because I did have to push this back a little bit some just to avoid from having to actually shave into the dash. But I have enough here on the back side to where I think that I can do the same thing that I did here to the front with the heat gun and get that to kind of reform to fit my gap a little bit in. And then we should be moving on to mounting this thing up to the dashboard. Really happy with the way this thing fits now. Perfectly matches our dash all the way around the best that it can. So now it's just time to work on what we're going to do to get this thing permanently mounted to this thing. So I'm thinking the best way is going to be to try to mount this thing up to our dashboard is going to be with some screws. But the dash is vinyl and made of foam, so how am I going to do that? I've got this neat tool here called the rib nut tool. I went and picked this thing up from Harbor Freight. This one is for pretty much kind of almost like rivets, but they are little threaded inserts like a nut, so that's why they call them a rib nut. These ones are American threaded size. You can get them online in metric sizes and the attachments to do the metric sizes. This is all I have on hand, so I'm going to be using some 632 size screws and some threaded inserts that I'm going to need to mark up on my dash, get those drilled in, and then use this tool here to insert some threaded inserts so we can screw that thing onto our dashboard. The front screw holes are going to be pretty obvious where we're going to want to put them, you know, each on the corners. But with the way this thing is shaped and how it actually now fits onto the dash, you can see where I've got the outline is that I don't have an area here on the edge to pop one on the edge, but I can put one here on the back corner, which will be like on the back side in the corner over here. But with the thingy on this side, when we come to this area, we don't have much spot to be able to put a screw here, but we've got a lot of overhang in this area, so we'll want to mark out some spots on our little gauge pod to where we're going to want to attach those screws, and then we'll mark them on the dash. We'll drill them out and insert the rib nuts. Got the adapter for the 632 inserts are on my tool. Now I guess we just put the insert and thread it all the way on. Go stick it in the hole and then pull the lever. Alright, the rib nuts are installed onto the dash. We should now be able to screw our gauge pod to this dashboard. That is super legit. I am so happy with the way this turned out, and it actually went relatively smooth for how I thought it was going to from the beginning. I may just add one more here, you know, to the center, and find some black screws. But we are just moving along. Looks great. I'm super happy with it. Now we have something that we'll be able to mount our oil pressure gauge and our AFR gauge. We'll have the Prelude cluster and some more goodies to come in the future. But I won't be installing either of the gauges into the pod tonight. I still have more work to do to the dash and to the harness before it's ready to go into the car. Once it is ready to permanently go in the car, we will then at that time mount the gauges into the gauge pod and get those wired up. So we're going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for all your comments. Thank you for being a part of this channel. If you're new here, please do me a big huge favor and hit that subscribe button. Until next time, guys, peace out.